And the destiny of the Champions League falls onto the shoulders of Real Madrid's greatest ever goal scorer.
Gains control. Trying to find some room. Oh, great work. He gets free. Shoots, goal!
In the 8th inning, leading by 3 as Boone hits it to deep left. That might send the Yankees to the World Series. Boone, a hero in Game 7.
Back to Iguodala, up for the layup. Oh, blocked by James. Champions League. And he does now.
Welcome to all those watching. I'm Max Danielsen.
And I'm Jared Hedges.
And you're watching This Week in Sports. Today is Wednesday, October 26, 2016. This past 2 weeks of sports have been pretty hectic. So let's start on the baseball side of things. Since 1997, the Cleveland Indians have never won the American League pennant. But that all changed last week as the Cleveland Indians defeated the Toronto Blue Jays 4-1.
The Cleveland Indians pitching-wise were led by Corey Kluber. Amazing. .98 ERA in the postseason, and has a cool nickname, Klubot.
And a former Cy Young Award winner.
And another pitcher, Andrew Miller, who came over from blockbuster deal from New York. Think of it. 7 innings pitched, 14 strikeouts. That's unheard of for a reliever in one series. Think of that. 5 games.
I guess you could say Toronto got both punched in May and October. The Cubs have won the pennant. No, I'm not lying to you. For the first time in 71 years, since 1945, they defeated the Los Angeles Dodgers 4-2.
The Cubs were led by the whole pitching staff, if you think about it. John Lester, Kyle Hendricks, John Lackey, and Jake Arrieta. And hitting-wise, they had Wilson Contreras, Chris Bryant, and I can only imagine what it's like getting Kyle Schwarber back, who had 2 torn knee ligaments earlier in April.
And he's back 6 months earlier. And how about Rizzo?
Oh, you can't go wrong with that guy. Think about it. He fought cancer, he beat it, and he's playing at one of the highest levels in baseball.
A truly remarkable story for Anthony. And in hockey news,
the Dallas Stars fell to the Columbus Blue Jackets this past Saturday, 3-0. Jamie Benn, the Dallas Stars captain, got into a pretty big fist fight with Columbus Blue Jackets center Brandon Dubinsky.
And you don't really see your captain fighting much. He's there to make sure that no one else fights or go to the ref for what happened.
And an Arizona kid, Austin Matthews, the #1 overall pick from the Toronto Maple Leafs. Yes, Arizona. Scored 4 goals in his NHL debut. God, you can't beat that. Nobody in the NHL has ever done that before.
I mean, you could go down the line here. Wayne Gretzky, Mario Lemieux, Gordie Howe, or how about the Stars franchise, Mike Modano? They have never had a better rookie debut than Austin Matthews did.
Not even a week after that. #2 overall pick, Patrick Laine of the Winnipeg Jets, scored a hat trick of his own. 3 goals against the Toronto Maple Leafs, including his 3rd goal, which was an overtime winner.
And you just look at this draft class for the past 2 years, and you just see the future of the National Hockey League just standing there.
You got Connor McDavid, Jack Eichel. So many young kids are coming out and becoming the best players in the NHL. And the Chicago Blackhawks defeated the Philadelphia Flyers 7-4. What's special about this is the Blackhawks top line, 9 points. Blackhawks top line is the 2016 NHL MVP Patrick Kane, Artem Anisimov, and Artemi Panarin.
And you just look at this line and you think this is one of the best NHL lines this season. And it's just going to be deadly to see this whole season. And in NFL news,
the Cincinnati Bengals defeated the Washington Redskins 31-17 behind Andy Dalton's great performance. 254 yards passing and 169 yards receiving from A.J. Green, including a 48-yard Hail Mary touchdown to end the first half. A Hail Mary is a pass where the quarterback throws it as far as he can and hopes the receiver catches it.
Now, will the Cleveland Browns ever win? We'll never know. And they may already have 3 quarterbacks before they ever win a game.
And the Washington Redskins fell to the Detroit Lions 20-17. despite a 300-yard passing performance from Kirk Cousins. Matthew Stafford, a local Dallas boy, came in clutch, delivering an 18-yard touchdown pass to Anquan Bolden with 18 seconds left in the game. The Oakland Raiders defeated the Jacksonville Jaguars 33-16 behind Michael Crabtree's 8 catches for 96 yards. Geez, Max, do you think are you sniffing a change up in Jacksonville?
I think they may be changing their head coach pretty soon with all these losses that's been going on.
And with the Cowboys not playing this past week, the Cowboys host the Philadelphia Eagles prime time Sunday Night Football on NBC, 7:15 p.m.
And I think that's it for this week's edition of This Week in Sports. We'll see you next time when we'll have even more sports news. This has been Max Danielsen
And Jared Hedges
reporting for Across Campus. Hey Jared, do you see that football over there?
Yeah?
Could you hold that for me and I'm going to run up and kick it?
Are you reciting that from Charlie Brown?
Possibly. But, I mean, it's a Thanksgiving tradition. My family always watches the Charlie Brown episode on Thanksgiving Day.
And before a Cowboys game, me and my family throw the football around in the front yard.
I wonder how far the tradition of football goes back on Thanksgiving Day.
The Detroit Lions have played in the most Thanksgiving games with 76. The Detroit Lions record is 36, 38, and 2. The Dallas Cowboys have played in the second most Thanksgiving games with 48. Their record is 29, 18, and 1. The tradition of the Detroit Lions playing on Thanksgiving Day began in 1934. The Lions have played on every Thanksgiving Day since 1934, except for during 1941 and 1944, when no games were played due to World War II. The tradition of the Dallas Cowboys playing on Thanksgiving Day began in 1966 when the Cowboys were still part of the AFL, which is the American Football League. The St. Louis Cardinals replaced the Dallas Cowboys on Thanksgiving during the 1975 and 1977 seasons. Dallas has hosted in every other year since 1966. Troy Aikman's 455 passing yards versus Minnesota in 1998 is the most of any quarterback on Thanksgiving. O.J. Simpson has the most rushing yards in a single Thanksgiving Day game, with 273 versus Detroit in 1976. Ernie Nevers holds the record for the most touchdowns in a Thanksgiving game, with 6 in 1929. The modern-day mark is held by Sterling Sharp, who scored 4 touchdowns versus Detroit in 1994. The Green Bay Packers have the second most Turkey Day losses with 19. John Madden, then with CBS and later with Fox, began awarding the turkey leg to the player chosen as the MVP of the game, which is now called the Galloping Gobbler. Emmitt Smith has won the most turkey leg Galloping Gobbler 5 times, the most by any player. Some of the most memorable Thanksgiving moments in football include Clint Longley, the one-hit wonder, with the Dallas Cowboys trailing 23-3. Unknown backup Clint Longley entered the game for the injured Roger Staubach and led the Cowboys to a 24-23 victory. In 1993, Leon Lett. On a snowy Thanksgiving Day in Dallas in 1993, the Cowboys were clinging to a 14-13 lead with under 20 seconds left as Miami lined up for a game-winning field goal try. After the Cowboys blocked the kick, apparently clinching a win, Leon Lett inexplicably slid into the football, making it a live ball which was recovered by the Miami Dolphins. Miami made a field goal on the next play to win the game, in a most improbable way. In 1998, Jerome Bettis calls tails. Referee Phil Luckett says he called heads. On the overtime coin flip, Bettis can be heard calling tails, but apparently the official claims he said heads. Apparently Bettis did say heads and then changed it to tails, but all you heard on the audio was his heads. The Lions went on to win the game in OT 1960.
The first game that takes place on this Thanksgiving starts at 11:30 a.m. on CBS with Matthew Stafford, a Dallas native, and the Detroit Lions taking on the Minnesota Vikings. Then at 3:30 p.m. on Fox, the Dallas Cowboys and the dynamic duo of Dak Prescott and Ezekiel Elliott take on Kirk Cousins and the Washington Redskins. Then to end it off at 7:30 p.m. on NBC, Andrew Luck and the Indianapolis Colts take on Antonio Brown and the Pittsburgh Steelers.
We hope everybody has a happy Thanksgiving and has a fun time watching football.
But let's all remember the true meaning of Thanksgiving, spending time with your friends and family. This has been Max Danielsen
And Jared Hedges
reporting for
across campus.
Yeah, let's go. First down. Yeah.
Max, what's going on down there?
I'm just watching the game and cheering.
Who's playing?
Alabama and Washington.
Doesn't Clemson play? Who
Yeah,
are they playing?
yeah, they do. They actually they play Ohio State.
Oh, do you know if Texas Tech has a bowl game this year?
No, I don't think they do. But I wonder what other bowl games are being played this year.
In its third year, the college football playoffs begin at 3 p.m. the Fiesta Bowl on ESPN with the Ohio State Buckeyes and the Clemson Tigers playing in Arizona at the University of Phoenix Stadium. The Ohio State's Buckeyes record was 12-1. Key players include J.T. Barrett, 2,428 yards passing, 24 touchdowns. Also, he had 847 rushing yards and 9 touchdowns. Running back Mike Weber, 1,072 rushing yards, 9 touchdowns. And Chris Samuel, 65 catches, 822 yards, and 7 touchdowns. And defensively, Malik Hooker led the way with 6 interceptions, which 3 came back for touchdowns. And the Clemson Tigers, led by the best quarterback, he won the award Best Quarterback in NCAA, Deshaun Watson, 3,626 passing yards, 34 touchdowns, 439 rushing yards, and 4 touchdowns. And wide receiver Mike Williams had 1,114 receiving yards and 10 touchdowns. And their record was 12-1.
Then, after the Fiesta Bowl concludes, at 7 p.m., the Peach Bowl will be played at the Georgia Dome versus the Alabama Crimson Tide and the Washington Huskies. For the Alabama Crimson Tide, they had a perfect, undefeated 13-0 record. Jalen Hurts had 2,425 yards and 20 touchdowns. From the rushing yards, he had 840 with 8 touchdowns. Damian Harris had 897 rushing yards with 2 touchdowns. Ardarius Stewart, their wide receiver, had 49 catches, 774 receiving yards, and 7 touchdowns. Reuben Foster, their linebacker, had 83 tackles and 2 sacks. For the Washington Huskies, who also had a 12-1 record, their key players include one of the best quarterbacks in all of NCAA football, Jake Browning, with 3,162 yards, 40 touchdowns. Miles Gaston had 1,080 yards and 10 touchdowns. John Ross had 1,071 yards with 16 touchdowns. And Dante Pettis had 787 yards and 14 touchdowns. The biggest bowl games that are not a part of the college football playoff include the Russell Athletic Bowl being played by the West Virginia Mountaineers and the Miami Hurricanes at Camping World Stadium. Then for the Foster Farms Bowl, the Utah Utes will versus the Indiana Hoosiers at Levi Stadium.
Then the Alamo Bowl, played by the Colorado Buffaloes and the Oklahoma State Cowboys at the Alamo Dome. Then one of the biggest bowls not in the college football playoff, the Orange Bowl, Michigan Wolverines versus Florida State Seminoles at the Hard Rock Stadium. Then the Citrus Bowl, Louisville Cardinals versus LSU Tigers. Some of the biggest offensive players there is, Lamar Jackson and Leonard Fournette at Camping World Stadium.
Then, for the Cotton Bowl here in Dallas, the Wisconsin Badgers will take on the Western Michigan Broncos at AT&T Stadium. Then for the Rose Bowl being played at the Rose Bowl, the USC Trojans will take on the Penn State Nittany Lions.
And then at the Sugar Bowl, the Auburn Tigers against the Oklahoma Sooners at Mercedes-Benz Superdome.
Hey Max, who do you want to win the national championship?
I think I want Alabama to win.
You know, I think I got Washington.
You know what? Now I got Ohio State.
Clemson.
Who do you want to win the national championship? And on behalf of the whole Across Campus team, we wish you a Merry Christmas. This has been Max Danielsen,
Jared Hedges,
reporting for Across Campus.
Good morning, Bishop Lynch. Today is Wednesday, January 18th, 2017. As the 2016 year has come to an end, let's take a look back at what happened this year in the sports world.
108 years.
Yeah, that basically summarizes what's about to happen, or what happened for the Cubs. I mean, that was insane.
We didn't have cell phones. Cars were just barely getting out. And there was very few teams, if you think about it. Very few things existed when the Cubs won the last pennant.
Yet that all changed. The drought has ended this year as the Cubs came back 3-1 against the Cleveland Indians. But how about the basketball world? Speaking of 3-1, Cleveland came back 3-1 against the Golden State Warriors, who have the best record of all time in the NBA, 73-9. And it all started with the momentum of LeBron James. I mean, he wanted to come back to Cleveland to bring home a championship, and he did just that. He didn't do it the first year, so he made it his mission that year and he did it.
And I don't know about you, but I thought, Warriors up 3-1. There's no chance for the Cubs.
No one thought they were going to come back.
They had to win at least 2 games in Oracle, especially Game 7 in Oracle.
Yeah, and Oracle is one of the hardest arenas to play in. But how about even better games for the March Madness game when Villanova hit a buzzer beater against North Carolina and Chris Jenkins? Did you actually know Chris Jenkins has a brother on North Carolina, and they actually have been dreaming about this ever since they were children? That's pretty insane.
And Peyton Manning, one of the most legendary quarterbacks to ever play the game, wins his Super Bowl against the Carolina Panthers, 15-1 Carolina Panthers, don't forget that, and the MVP, Cam Newton. It's always, now you hear all the critics about Peyton Manning. Oh, his brother Eli has 2. Well, now Peyton has 2.
But how about the Pittsburgh Penguins defeating the San Jose Sharks? That's pretty insane, especially we saw what Sidney Crosby could do.
And it's also pretty cool with what hockey's getting into now with states that you'd never think hockey would be in.
Las Vegas, for example,
exactly,
the Golden
now.
Knights.
Yeah. And Cristiano Ronaldo, in many people's opinions, has put himself ahead of Messi now by winning an international title, the Euros 2016, over France.
And that was pretty insane. I watched the Euros this year, and just seeing what Cristiano Ronaldo could do and how he carried Portugal is insane. But how about what Leicester City did? Winning the Premier League. They had 5,000 to 1 odds. You have a better chance at finding Bigfoot. I mean, that's just insane.
It's insane. And Real Madrid defeated their crosstown rivals, Atletico Madrid, in the Champions League in penalty kicks.
Yeah, that was insane. But how about during the Olympics? Michael Phelps adding on to his 23 gold medals to finish off his career. I mean, there is no doubt he's the best swimmer of all time. And the next part is not a surprise that the U.S. beat Australia in the basketball championship for the gold medal. I mean, it was pretty close. I mean, Matthew Dellavedova came in pretty clutch, as well as Andrew Bogut. And how about college football this year? Everyone thought Bama was going to win, but no. Clemson came in clutch. Deshaun Watson in the final seconds of the game with a last-second touchdown to beat them. I mean, it was just insane. I don't know about you.
Well, you hear all the critics. I personally thought Clemson was going to win because last year Watson throws 400-something yards just like again this year and beats the number 1 defense and the number 1 team.
I think everyone wanted them to win, but we also kind of thought that Bama was going to win because think about it. Bama is one of the best teams and has been one of the best teams, especially their coach. I mean, he has just taken the program to a whole new level. Our top place of the 2016 sports world from each sport.
Baseball. Anthony Rizzo, first baseman for the Chicago Cubs. Do you see what he did?
Yeah, didn't he jump over a tarp and fall into the crowd?
This is like one of the best catches all year.
And how about in basketball? One of the most iconic plays of the year. When LeBron James ran the full length of the court and blocked Andre Iguodala to seal Game 7 when Kyrie Irving then hit a deadly three-pointer.
All the momentum went straight to Cleveland after that block. And in hockey, Connor McDavid, number 1 overall pick last year, who's been very compared to Sidney Crosby, broke his collarbone not long after his debut.
squeezes through the Columbus Blue Jackets defense and scores some magnificent goal.
Yeah, that was one of the best plays we've seen in the history of hockey. But how about in football? Rodgers to Rodgers action as Aaron Rodgers throws a deep Hail Mary pass to Richard Rodgers to seal the deal for the Green Bay Packers, defeating the Detroit Lions 27-23.
And Euros 2016, Zerdan Shaqiri of Poland scores one of the best goals in the Euros, a bicycle kick.
Yeah, that was phenomenal. I mean, just to do that even so in the Euros, one of the biggest things that happened this summer, it was unbelievable. Well, we thank you for watching, and we can't wait for what happens in 2017. This has been Max Danielsen
And Jared Hedges
reporting for Across Campus. Well, football fans, I think we can all agree that this was one of the best Super Bowls we've ever watched, and probably the greatest in Super Bowl history. It all started with two of the best teams in the league, or probably the two best teams in the league, the New England Patriots and the Atlanta Falcons. It started as a shootout because really it was really tight in the first quarter. No one scored, but then the Atlanta Falcons, they came out to a 21-3 lead going into halftime, and it was all led by probably the best interception in Super Bowl history, Robert Alford. He had a pick six, and I believe, what, it was 82 yards?
82 yards, yeah, and the record's 88.
Yeah, I mean, he was just 7 yards off from having a record in the Super Bowl. But then Tom Brady, he's a bad man, as Stephen A. Smith says. He came out firing in the second half. We'll get to his stats in a little bit. Julio Jones, he had one of the best catches that we've ever seen. But we have a better one coming up. What is your thoughts about that catch?
Well, with that catch, just plain and simple, I believe that that's Matt Ryan. Matt Ryan, had he placed that ball or held on to it just for half a second longer, we wouldn't be talking about the Julio Jones catch. And as we see later in the show, as you'll mention, Julian Edelman.
This is why the game is about a game of inches. I mean, he was guarded by two players and still made the catch. I believe it was just maybe an inch off the ground, and he still caught it.
And he had a split second, not even that, to have the reaction to put his hands under it. And again,
I thought he dropped it.
I believe that Julian's catch was, I think it is the best one in Super Bowl history, because the momentum and the pressure being how this is the Patriots,
and it was all led by
drive,
Donta Hightower.
And it was led by him. And had he not made the fumble, they wouldn't have potentially had that.
Yeah, and that fumble was made by Donta Hightower, and then Trey Flowers. He had one of the best sacks, or the clutch sack.
Yeah.
Yes, he made them the Falcons have a 3rd and 33.
And again, with this Edelman catch, I personally believe that this was a better catch than Odell Beckham, mainly because let's look at it. Odell wasn't guarded by 2 people.
He wasn't in the Super Bowl.
He's just in New York against the Cowboys. At the time, weren't a very good team.
And their defense is still reasonable, you know.
No.
They still had Brandon Carr, who guarded Odell, and he's all right. But this was the first overtime in Super Bowl history. It took over 50 of them just to get here. And the New England Patriots came back 34-28. And after the third quarter, the Atlanta Falcons had a 99.6% chance of winning. I don't know how you blow that.
It's just
it's all about Tom Brady.
Yeah, it's just Tom. That's all it is.
And of course, we saw the halftime performance exceed multiple expectations. I mean, Lady Gaga had one of the best Super Bowl performances we've ever seen.
And one of the longest, in my opinion,
Luke
one of the
Bryan.
longest national anthems that took forever to sing.
So let's get into some of the key players for this game. Matt Ryan, of course, the MVP. Believe it or not, 7 of 8 MVPs who have played in the Super Bowl have lost in the Super Bowl. He went 17 for 23. He had 284 yards and a touchdown. Julio Jones, he had an alright day. He had 4 receptions, 87 yards. And Devonta Freeman, he had 11 carries, 75 yards, a touchdown, and also 2 receptions and 46 yards. He was a likely MVP candidate for the Super Bowl, but the next guy that we're going to talk about was definitely one too, and that was Grady Jarrett. Jared, what did he do?
Well, you see, he had 3 sacks, and here's another thing. Here's what was impressive had the Falcons won. The amount of hits that Tom Brady took in the first 3 quarters. He really didn't get hit that much in the fourth. It was 16
and that's how they
total
scored
hits
19 points in the fourth
comeback.
quarter. Yeah. So Tom Brady, he had 3 records. He had 43 completed passes, which is a record. He had 62 passes in total, which is a record. He also had 466 yards in the game, which is a record. And he had 2 touchdowns and an interception. And then Julian Edelman, he had 5 receptions and 87 yards. And then James White, who I believe was also an easy candidate for the MVP, he had 14 receptions, 110 yards, and a touchdown, as well as 6 carries, 2 receptions, 29 yards, and 2 touchdowns.
And did you see once the Patriots were over, when they won and then they're getting
Roger Goodell's awkward handshake?
He did. From what I saw, I didn't even think he said anything to Bill Belichick.
Yeah, I mean, I think for him, he was like, yes, the Falcons are going to win up. There it goes. Well, the MVP of the Super Bowl, of course, was Tom Brady, no doubt. And we congratulate the New England Patriots on the 2016 Super Bowl champions. This has been Max Danielsen
And Jared Hedges
reporting for Across Campus. Good morning, Bishop Lynch. Today is Thursday, March 9th, 2017. He's Jared.
He's Max.
And this is Jam Sports, where we bring you both the high school side of sports
And the professional
and
side.
going on to the baseball side of things for Bishop Lynch. They right now are 7-10, and they play St. Mark's on Tuesday, March 7th, and the score will pop up right there and right now. And they will play on Thursday at the Father Wilson Tournament in Houston versus Lutheran South in Beaumont, Kelly.
And the Lady Friars softball team, this year their record is 5-6, and they beat JP2 on Monday 16-0, and they play Thursday in the 2017 Rattler Spring Break Tournament versus Weimer, Navarro, and Atkins.
And both teams just got their new field. Last year, the softball team got Ferguson Park, which is a very beautiful field, as well as the baseball team just got their whole field remodeled, which is, I'm in the baseball program, and it's absolutely gorgeous. And both teams have a chance either maybe whether it be next year or for the softball team this year to win a state championship or in the years to come. And going on to women's soccer, they lost to St. Agnes of Houston with a score of 1-0, and they finished 18-6. Now, Jared, how was the recap on their full season?
Well, they started out great. They beat Ursuline 3-1 in Ursuline, which is which isn't very likely to beat Ursuline by 2 goals in their house. Now,
Going on to next year, they will get Jada Thomas back, who missed most of the year with a knee injury, and the one starter will not be back next year because she's graduating. So he'll have all of his starters back except for one. So next year is the year.
And for the track team, Jair Moore and Ty Ellard, they finished third as Jair Moore finished third in the 100 meter and Ty Ellard finished third in the high jump. For the women's, however, Kelly Neri and Emma Williams, they both won silver, as Kelly Neri brought home the silver in high jump and Emma Williams brought silver in the long jump. And going on for Dallas sports, the Mavericks are right now 2.5 games out of the 8th seed. How did they do it? All because of player development and finding the right pieces and just a little patience from Mavericks fans. They defeated the Oklahoma City Thunder by the score of 104-89 and right now stand 26-36 and they are 10th in the Western
And they
Conference.
aren't. You said 2.5 games out of a wild card spot. The Mavs, here's the thing. They're beating teams that are kind of difficult. They beat the Spurs in San Antonio. They beat the Cavs. They beat, again, the MVP in Russell Westbrook. And they beat the Pacers. And the Dallas Stars defeated the best team in the NHL in the Washington Capitals 4-2. The Washington Capitals are the best team because they have the best goalie. They have Alex Ovechkin. And the Stars are good for a 27, 29, and 10 record, which is 6th in the Central Division, and they are 11th in the Western Conference. And they're not that far off in points. They just need 6 points to qualify for a wild card.
And an update from the Rangers spring training. They are right now 2-8, and right now they are in the making of re-signing Rougned Odor to a 5-year, $70 million deal, and that's in the ballpark of the contract from Cleveland Indians second baseman J.C. Kipnis, as well as former Rangers center fielder and all-star Ian Desmond of the Colorado Rockies.
And another thing that they will need to be working on, not only is Rougned Odor being a free agent, I think next year, Yu Darvish is a free agent this coming off season, so they have something to do.
Well, I think this does conclude our second edition of Jam Sports, as we thank you from myself, Max Danielsen, and Jared Hedges, and we hope to see you next time. Good morning, Bishop Lynch. Today is Thursday, April 6, 2017. He's Jared.
He's Matt.
And this is another edition of Jam Sports, where we bring you both the high school side of sports
And the professional side of sports.
and starting off how we start off every single episode, we will bring you the Bishop Lynch side of news, and in particular this time, the baseball side.
The baseball team currently stands at 11-15-1 and lost against Preston by the score of 8-3 on Friday night. They also played TCA on Tuesday, and the score to that game will pop up right now.
Next action for the baseball team is tomorrow versus TCA over at TCA at 5 o'clock. With these next few home games in the regular season, the Bishop Lynch Friars hope to make a run for the playoffs here in district.
And speaking of a run, the softball team is 10-10-1 and are second in district as they played against Bishop Dunn Tuesday evening. And the score to that game will be shown now.
And did you see, Jared, what this Bishop Lynch softball team did to TCA softball team?
The softball team here defeated TCA 19-0.
And that was only in 4 innings.
And the pitcher for the Lady Friars, Kristen Linares, had 9 strikeouts in 3 innings.
And the next action for the Lady Friars is tonight against John Paul II over at John Paul II at 5 o'clock. And with 2 more home games, April 11th and April 27th, in the regular season, Coach Wheeler asked all the Friar community to come out and support as they make their way to the playoffs.
And now going on to the tennis team. 3 members of the tennis team qualified for the state meet. Max, who are they?
Those members would include Ashlyn Dewey, Jillian Brown, and Ben Walter. Ashlyn was the very first person to qualify on the very first day of the tournament. He finished 4th overall in the meet.
Jillian Brown needed to win her final 2 matches, which she did as she finished 5th overall. And Ben Walter was the last to get his spot in the state meet, in doing so beating 2 single Liberty Christian players.
Their state meet will be on April 10th and April 11th. We wish these athletes the best of luck in hopes they will bring back another state championship.
Now, with news on the track team. They competed in the WT White Invitational this past Saturday.
The men's team placed 8th overall in the meet with individual medals coming from Joe McDonald, Ty Ellard, and a team of Ryan Huntress, Trey Thomas, Theo Yerk, and Sam Schundelberg in their respective events.
The women's team, however, finished 5th in the meet with individual medals from Madison White, Diana Fium, Jen Anuha, and Anna Schrader, Monet Perry, Audrey Young, and Jessica Taylor in their respective events.
Their next outing is today at the Cardinal Relays. We wish the track team the best of luck.
And now we go into collegiate and Dallas sports. For Dallas sports, as of now, both the Dallas Mavericks and Dallas Stars are officially mathematically eliminated from the playoffs. We congratulate the Dallas Mavericks on a great season, and the Stars kind of underachieved. But we can congratulate both on a hard-fought season, and we can't wait for next year. However, with that, there is a new season upon us.
Yes, ladies and gentlemen, Texas Ranger baseball is back underway. They start out the season playing a 3-game series versus the reigning American League champion Cleveland Indians. The results to each of the 3 games will appear now.
Max, were you flipping back and forth between the NCAA championship
Oh, of course,
games?
those were some of the biggest games. I mean, being a die-hard Texas Ranger fan, you have to watch opening day, and being a die-hard collegiate basketball fan, you have to watch the national championship.
And Texas local Corey Kluber of the Cleveland Indians started opening day. He got lit up by the Rangers. In the first 3 innings, he gave up 5 earned runs, which is
as
not
well
the
as
best
3
start.
home runs.
Exactly.
2 from Ruben Odor and 1 from Carlos Gomez, and it looked as the Rangers were going to win this game until a newly acquired Cleveland Indian, Edwin Encarnacion, tied the game up with a home run in the 8th inning, which then the Cleveland Indians would rally to get 3 more runs and defeat the Rangers on opening day 8-5.
So far, we can expect the Rangers to have a great season, and especially a great year from second baseman Rougned Odor. Granted, the season just started, but he is tied for the MLB lead in home runs with pitcher from the San Francisco Giants, Madison Bumgarner.
And he is actually the very first pitcher to actually do that in opening day, which being having 2 home runs. And for collegiate sports, there's no way we can't cap off the episode without mentioning the national championship, as the number 1 seed North Carolina Tar Heels defeated the also number 1 seed Gonzaga Bulldogs by the score of 71-65.
It came down close to the wire. But with late game turnovers by the Bulldogs, this would help secure a Tar Heel championship win. Even so, both teams missed a lot of opportunities from the line at that game.
And now, basketball fans, we have to wait another year until we see both the beginning and the end of another March Madness. Well, Jared, I think this concludes another edition of Jam Sports, as we thank you from myself, Max Danielsen, and my co-host, Jared Hedges, as we thank you for watching, and we'll see you next time. Have a great day, everybody. Good morning, Bishop Lynch. Today is Thursday, April 27, 2017. He's Jared.
He's Matt.
And this is another edition of
Jam
Sports,
Sports,
where we bring you both the high school side of sports
And the professional side.
and first, we'll start off how we start off every single episode on the Bishop Lynch side of news, and this week on the topic of baseball.
The baseball team currently stands with a record of 12, 20, and 1, and played Nolan on Tuesday, and that score will appear right now.
Next action for the baseball team is against Nolan tomorrow here at BL at 7 o'clock. Coach Nestor asked that all the Friar community comes out and supports and give a good farewell game to the seniors here on Senior Day.
And for softball, the softball team currently is 16, 11, and 1, and are second in district, as they played against Prestonwood on Monday afternoon. They won the game in 3 innings by the score of 15-0. That's pretty impressive.
Especially in 3 innings against Prestonwood. And the Lady Friars played tonight against Chant here at BL at 4:30. And with one more regular season home game, Coach Wheeler asked that all the Friar community comes out and supports them as they make their way to the playoffs. And speaking of the playoffs, the very next day, they play Concordia Lutheran at 4:30 here at BL. We wish the Lady Friars the best of luck.
Now with news on the track team. They will be competing in the TAPS Regional Prelims and the TAPS Regional Finals on Tuesday and today.
We wish our track teams the best of luck as they compete for their quest at another state championship.
And now in golf news, the Friar and Lady Friar teams have just finished up their season at the TAPS 6A State Championship meet
at the Wildflower Country Club this past Monday and Tuesday.
And already with a great first day from both the Lady Friars and Friars, it is sure to be a great tournament. And we wish them the best of luck at bringing home a state championship. And we will make sure on the very next Jam Sports, we will give you the full recap on that.
And now for Dallas sports, Dallas and professional sports. As the playoffs have begun for both the NBA and NHL playoffs, both the Stars, who recently hired the coach who coached them to the 1999 Stanley Cup with Ken Hitchcock, and the Mavericks, unfortunately, didn't qualify for the playoffs this year also. But here are some updates on the big matchups to watch and who have already advanced.
In the NBA, already 2 teams have qualified to go to the second round. Both of the teams were in last year's NBA Finals. Of course, the Game 7 thriller, which the Cleveland Cavaliers came back as they are one of the teams, as well as the 73-9 record-breaking Golden State Warriors.
And speaking of the Cavs, in Game 3, they came back from a 25-point hole, and they came back and defeated the Pacers.
Mm-hmm.
And some of the key series in this playoffs include the Boston Celtics and the Chicago Bulls and the Milwaukee Bucks and the Toronto Raptors.
And in the NHL, we have the matchups already set for the second round. Jared, who are those matchups?
The matchups will happen to be the Nashville Predators with Ryan Johansson and the St. Louis Blues with Vladimir Tarasenko, the Anaheim Ducks with Corey Perry, and the Connor McDavid and the Edmonton Oilers. And in my opinion, the second best series of this round with Henrik Lundqvist and the New York Rangers against Erik Karlsson and the Ottawa Senators.
But the biggest matchup in this round is the Pittsburgh Penguins with probably arguably the best player in hockey right now, Sidney Crosby, versus the other arguably best player in hockey, Alex Ovechkin, with the Washington Capitals. So that's another good matchup to watch. I wouldn't be surprised if it goes into a 7-game series.
I think it'll go to 7. It'll be a fun series
and for
to
the
watch.
Texas Rangers, they have gone from a 2-8 record to close to second to dead last, and now they're 9-11 and third in the AL West as of April 25th. Now, Jared, of course, how did they get there, and what was kind of the big move, I guess you could say, why they have just gone off?
Sam, a main reason is they have a new closer in Matt Bush, who I think will be really good. And you know, Sam Dyson he did great last year and the year before. But he just couldn't get off to a good start. He blew his first 3 saves and then went on the DL with a hand injury.
And we saw in the World Baseball Classic how Sam Dyson could be such a good pitcher. I mean, in the final game, he did a really good job in relief. And of course, so far it's been an amazing season for the youngster Joey Gallo. He has already hit 6 home runs, and one being 463 feet, the longest homer by a Texas Ranger this year. Well, Jared, I think this concludes another edition of Jam Sports, as we thank you from myself, Max Danielsen, and my co-host, Jared Hedges. As we thank you for watching, we'll see you next time. Have a great day, everybody. Good morning, Bishop Lynch. Today is Wednesday, May 24th, 2017. He's Jared.
And he's Matt.
And this is our final edition of the year of Jam Sports, where we bring you both the high school side of sports
and the professional side.
Well, Jared, we finally made it, the very final edition of Jam Sports for this year. We thank all of you for your support and feedback, and we just can't wait till next year.
And as you said, while we can't wait till next year, right now, let's focus on what happened this year. And right now, again, let's dive into what happened this year.
All right, well, we have to start with the underdog story, the Friar football team. They had a mission the summer prior. Coach Fawcett came in, and he wanted to win a state championship against our rivals, Bishop Dunn, which he conquered.
At the beginning of the season, it didn't seem likely that they had the shot for the state championship because they barely squeaked into the playoffs 5-5 with a 5-5 record. Now, they did catch fire at the right time because they won 3 straight games in the playoffs to get them to state, and then overall, they won.
Yeah, they were marching through the playoffs. They even blew out a lot of good teams. They made it to the state championship, beating Bishop Dunn by the score of 21-17.
And we saw many impressive outings, not just in the playoffs, but in the regular season. We saw many impressive outings throughout the year from Jair Moore, Jarek Channel 3 Broussard, and Jermaine Master. And the team's defense was very good this year and really improved and ultimately helped win the state championship.
And of course, you already know that we have to mention the volleyball team, which are 4-time state champions. They finished with a very impressive 32-8 record, and of course, they made the state championship.
Unfortunately, however, they did lose in a heartbreak in the very last set, 20-18. However, this proves you can't win them every year. And now that they know I'm sure they know what it's like to lose, but to lose state, now they could come back even stronger to get the fifth one in 6 years.
And now we move on to a very impressive basketball season from both teams. Both of our teams made the state championship, with the ladies winning the state championship 68-50. And however, the men lost in a big-time heartbreaker versus Prestonwood with the score of 45-42.
Now, Max, we cannot go without giving props to the men's team, as they went from dead last year, and now me and you, we do color commentary, and we could see the big difference from last year's varsity team and this year's. And they did have a very, very impressive season nonetheless. I mean, they were 33-8. And the women were 33-4.
And even so, the men actually went on a 20-game win streak before finally losing in the state championship. And we should easily expect a great season from both the men's and the ladies, as we should expect a run for the state championship again.
And moving on to soccer, the men's and women's soccer teams also had a great year, but they both fell to soccer teams from Houston, as the men lost to Houston St. Thomas 1-0. And the women lost to Houston St. Agnes 1-0 also.
And we remember in the middle of the women's season, they lost a very key asset, Jada Thomas, as you know, who is a West Virginia soccer commit. Now, next year, everyone is saying this could be the year. And I know your uncle is the the women's soccer coach, Coach Darren Hedges. He is very excited about next season. And like basketball, we can easily expect both teams to have another great year and have a run for the state championship. As the men's, they finished with a record of 11-8-1, while the women's had a very impressive record with 18-6.
And now moving on to baseball. Baseball team improved again, and they lost in the first round in the playoffs to Antonian Prep by the scores of 14-0 and 10-0. They finished overall with a record of 14-22.
Now, Antonian Prep is one of the best teams in Texas, so you have to give props to them for at least giving it their all. And of course, next year we already know the possibility of everyone winning a state championship, but in particular the baseball team, because they are having a replenish of most of their players, as almost half of their team is seniors, and there's going to be a lot of changes. So we can't wait to see what happens for the baseball team next year. Now, Jared, of course, on this topic of spring sports, how did the softball team do? Because they had a good season.
The softball team, once again, they won district again, and they made the playoffs. But they unfortunately couldn't pull away from Incarnate Word and lost 8-3. But they did finish with a record of overall 18 wins, 12 losses, and 1 tie.
And now with the end of softball season, this concludes the whole 2016-2017 athletic season here at Bishop Lynch High School. We congratulate all the teams we mentioned and also the teams we did not mention on a great and spectacular season. The whole Friar community is so proud of you guys. Well, Jared, I think this concludes our final edition of the year for Jam Sports. As you thank you from myself, wait. Weren't we going to mention what's to come for next year?
Oh, Max, we will. We have, again, like you said, we are going to have exciting seasons, as we know, from football. Volleyball's going to be there, too.
I'm talking about Jam Sports. What's to come for Jam Sports? Of course, we already know there are going to be some new faces on the show. It's not only just going to be us and Jared, but there's going to be a rotation coming around. Also, we're going to have a logo finally, as well as an intro. And Jared, what are we thinking about to do for some segments?
Some segments we could, like, me and you both think, like, what about a round table where we discuss with some faculty and some students, where we discuss what we expect from the Cowboys.
Or even so, what's to come for Friar
exactly, and
teams.
for Friar athletics, too.
Well, you know, Jared, I have noticed over this past year, I've never let you take an outro. Do you want to take it today?
Sure, Max, I will. Well, for myself, Jared Hedges, and my co-host, Max Danielsen, we thank you for watching and supporting us this year, and we'll see you next time, back here in August. Have a great day and great summer, everyone.
Derpity derp 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 derp
Sadly want me to be talking about them.
You know what's funny? This guy got to talk about the Packers for 3 weeks in a row. And
We only did it for 2.
okay, but 1 week he got to talk about good things about them. I didn't get to talk about how the Blackhawks are a 1 seed, but I get to talk about how they get swept.
All right, you do realize we're recording, right?
Yeah, but we'll cut.
Oh no, this is going in a looper.
Oh, that'd actually be a good one.
Yeah, I know.
Okay, so you remember what to say, right?
Yep, of course I do. I'm in the shot, right? Good morning, Bishop Lynch. Today is March 2nd, 2017. He's Jared.
And he's mad.
And this is the first.
You're fine. You're overreacting.
Maybe I was.
Cause I sit here, you sit here. That's the only reason it's
Oh,
different.
Lord, I can't see. Good morning, Bishop Lynch. Today is March 2nd. Good morning, Bishop Lynch. Today is Thursday, March 2nd, 2017. He's Jared.
And he's mad.
And this is our very first edition of Jam Sports,
Sports.
where we bring you both the high school side of sports.
And the professional side.
And let's start out with the big thing that happened this weekend at the Athletic.
It's not bad. It's funny. I kind of find it amusing.
Good morning, Bishop Lynch. Today is Thursday, March 2nd, 2017. He's Jared.
And he's mad.
And this is our very first edition of Jam Sports, where we bring you both the high school side of sports
And the professional side sports.
and, of course, let's start out with the big thing that happened in the
Got us voice crack.
on the athletic side of the news for the Bishop Lynch Friars. The women's basketball team brought home the state championship, defeating Parish Episcopal with a score of 68 to 50. Nia Green and India Rogers both had 20 points on the game. Oh my god. Now that you mention it, now I'm saying it way too much.
Just making me laugh. Professional side.
Oh my gosh, I burped.
Actually,
No, just give me
burped.
Yes, I did.
I didn't hear it.
No, in my mouth I did. Alright, you ready? Ready?
Hold on. Try to get it together. Okay.
Good morning, Bishop Lynch. Today is Thursday, March 2nd, 2000. Oh my lord. Okay. Cut that. Hodgers actually shot 20. She shot. Oh my lord. Shot. Oh wait. Oh. Very special edition of
Jam
Sports,
Sports.
where we bring you both the high school side of sports.
And this time, collegiate side of sports.
No, you're supposed to say, stick to the script. Good morning, Bishop Lynch. Today is Thursday, March 24th, 2017. He's Jared.
And he's Max.
And this is a very special edition of
Jam Sports.
where you bring. Today is Thursday, March 24th, 2017. Okay.
Seriously?
You know what? No. Keep this. We'll do it. All right? Right. Good morning, Bishop Lynch. Today is Thursday, March 24th, 2017. He's Jared.
And he's Max.
Oh my god.
Why are you stuttering
Why am
on
I
the
stuttering?
intro? Stick to the script, by the way. And Bishop Lynch Baseball, as of now, hopes to make a run in order to qualify for the playoffs here in district play. Oh, I thought that was But the question is, are you ready?
I'm always ready for sixes. Oh, the lavalier went a little bit down.
They play here today at Bishop. Wait, why did I say here today? Wait, hold on. Did I say they play
Yes,
here
you
for
did.
Prestonwood?
Yeah.
Okay, sorry. Okay.
They played against Bishop Dunn on Tuesday evening.
Those.
The score to that. I thought I was supposed to do that.
No, it was. I thought you reset. But we're making. That was only 57 seconds.
No, but that was good though.
Okay. All right, you ready?
So okay.
Should we mention the 19? Yeah, we should. All right. So after we finish that,
I gotta remember who did they play yesterday?
Parrish. All right, you ready? Oh. That's going in a blooper. No, just pause it there. That's a blooper.
A Tar Heel championship win. Even so, both teams missed a lot of opportunities from the line that game.
And now, basketball fans, we have to wait another year until we see the beginning and end of another March Madness. Well, Jared, I think this concludes another edition of Jam Sports as we thank you for myself, Max Danielsen, and my co-host, Jared Hedges. As we thank you for watching, and we can't wait till...
God, why did you miss the White Invitational this past Saturday?
The men's team placed 8th overall in the meet, with individual medals coming from Joe McDonald, Ty Ellert, and the team of Ryan Huntress, Trey Thomas, Theo Urick, and Sam... oh, dang it.
Sham.
Damn.
Okay, yeah, you are, dude.
Are you sure?
Yes, you're good.
Alright.
You're fine. We've got
You're fine.
10 minutes.
3 more runs and defeat the Texas Rangers 8-5.
Oh my gosh, I thought we were done with that. I thought we were going straight to collegiate. It's okay, dude.
Good morning, Bishop Lynch.
Oh my god!
I was like, what are you doing? Are you gonna press it?
He's Jared.
And he's Max.
And this is our... Why do I want to say second edition?
Jam Sports.
Oh my gosh.
Why did you mess up in this? See, this is the thing.
Oh, I'm messing up.
Nose is itching like crazy. Now with news on the track team. What?
You have to wait 3 seconds.
I thought I waited 3 seconds. You sat down.
They would get in. Oh, hold on. Yeet. That's gonna be a blooper.
Okay.
Let's see if we can get that in there. All right. Good morning, Bishop Lynch. Today is Wednesday, March 24th, 2017. He's Jared.
He's Max.
And this is another...
You messed up on the freaking intro once more.
We wish you a very happy Super Bowl Sunday this weekend. This has been Max Danielsen
And Jared Hedges.
reporting for Across Campus. Go football.
I think that killed the whole entire thing.
Do you want to redo it?